Hey everybody, welcome back to Reach and Reverie. Today is going to be a little bit different than our last few videos. I am going to start with a winter garden update. I want to show you how everything in our winter garden has been growing since the last time I updated you guys on that. After we finish up with that winter garden update, I'm going to get to work doing some heavy lifting. So I'm not sure how much of this next part I'm going to film, but I am going to walk you through the process of what I'm about to do. It's just kind of hard to lift a lot of stuff while holding the camera. I may just talk to you about what I'm going to do and then show you the result after I finish doing it. I want to start with my two big winter pots. I have them set up in different locations now than they had been all winter, just because I needed them propped up off the ground so that I could paint them properly. I kind of like where they are for right now. It is a little bit in the way. I'm going to move them to their permanent spring season locations. In this first bed, I have my two purple early sprouting broccoli. As far as I know, they're not even starting to head up yet, but they are growing really well. They look nice and healthy. They haven't been getting eaten on by sparrows quite as much as they were in the colder times of winter. I think now they're starting to be a little bit more for those birds to eat, and they're kind of leaving my plants a little bit more alone, which is really nice. My really pretty red romaine is doing kind of well. I mean, there's some areas where I feel like they're a little sun scorched, and I've been watering these almost every day because they like to try to get wilty in the day. So I'm pretty sure these are going to try to bolt on us soon. I did go ahead and pull one plant out. I had two of these plants in this pot, and I fed the other plant to the chickens earlier today. So chickens got a treat. We're gonna try to eat a lot of this week, and by the end of the week, I think this is also gonna go to the chickens because they loved it. Is it playtime? Is that what time it is? It's playtime? We just got home from the garden store, so Evie's all excited that we're home. You're gonna mess up my broccoli, you gotta be careful. She says, I don't care about no broccoli. You gotta play with me. Can you let go? Evie, let go. Thank you. Back up. So serious. You ready? Go. What happened? Something spooked you. Go get it. Evie, come. Ready? Evie, let go. She's always got to get that last little nibble in there. Back. Go. Evie, come. Come on. Good girl. You ready? Let go. Evie, let go. Good girl. Sit. Evie, can you sit pretty? Can you sit pretty? Evie, sit pretty. Hey. Oh, Dyson's watching you. Evie, can you sit pretty? Sit pretty. Come on. Evie, sit pretty. That was close. You ready? Oh my goodness. Borzoi are one of the smartest dog breeds, but they're one of the lowest on trainability. They're very independent thinkers. Evie, come. Come. Evie, come. Good girl. Hey, can you sit? Can you sit pretty? Can you sit pretty? Come here. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. That was good. Okay, back to the garden tour. So I do have a purple kohlrabi that's growing right in the middle. It's starting off, oh, I have another little one down here. They're starting off really slow because they're pretty shaded out by the broccoli. But once I pull my broccoli out, once they're headed up, I am gonna give this a little bit more room to grow. And hopefully he'll start getting his big old massive kohlrabi base developing at that point. I have some other purple kohlrabis in here that the birds have kind of been eating on. I don't think that they're gonna have a whole lot of promise at this point because they've just been basically reduced to nubs, but I have left them in here to help distract from the sparrows. I think that it gives the sparrows something to eat so they're not eating as much on my broccoli. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Gotta pay attention to Miss Evie. She says, I want all your attention. She gets jealous. Where's Dyson? Right next door to the broccoli and the romaine and the kohlrabi, we have a bed with some carrots. I don't remember what variety these carrots are. Just some generic orange carrot. And then I also planted beets and radishes. Basically, like 90% of the beets have been eaten by sparrows. You can see out of the carrots and the beets and the radishes which section the sparrows preferred. I had a really good rate of germination on all of these, but man, the sparrows this year were brutal. So the radishes are doing pretty good. I'm gonna start pulling some of these out soon. You can see some of them are starting to get their red tops developing. I have a rogue carrot that decided to grow over here, probably got washed away from the middle. So that's how this bed's doing. Now let me show you our area with the majority of our winter garden. I mean, you guys must think I'm so messy. Look at all the dog toys we have everywhere. Little gumball machine. Evie's always sneaking toys out of the house. So in the back, we have our artichokes. The artichokes are doing pretty well. They really like that we've been having a lot more warmer weather lately. I have not covered this garden space with any winter protection coverings or anything in about a week and a half. We have been averaging 50 degrees or 45 degrees at night, and we've been doing about 70-75 degrees in the day. So we have had a lot of warm weather for early February. So that's pretty weird that we had such a cold, snowy winter back in December and January, and now that we've hit February, it is really, really hot. So because of that, we have had an explosion of growth in general. So artichokes are doing really well. I do have flowers on my pansies. I have 2 plants of yellow pansies and 2 plants of purple pansies. In the back, we have our old kale that is struggling quite a bit. I don't think it likes this warm weather that we've been having. It kind of struggled towards the end of last season, and then once that cool weather came, it perked back up, and now that it's warming back up, the new growth is nice, but the old growth, I'm not happy. My butter crunch lettuce has really surprised me. We have been eating a lot off of these butter crunch lettuces. I just pull the oldest leaves from the base of them and work my way around, and there is enough with these 4 butter crunch lettuce plants that I have that we've been able to eat salads pretty well and steadily throughout the winter. And they grow so fast that they just produce more leaves as they go. Our Swiss chard is getting bigger slowly. I haven't harvested anything off of these Swiss chards just because they were struggling so much during the winter. So I'm gonna let them go and see if they'll do a little better now that the weather's warmed up a little bit. I think I may transplant these into bigger spaces so that they can have a little bit more room to stretch out and grow bigger. This kale is doing really well. I have my black king pansies in this pot. Right here, this cluster is 3 plants, and it has really taken off in the past week. Looks like we have a flower starting to develop right there. My sages haven't grown too much at all, but they're pretty healthy. And then my shallots. Look at these shallots. They're doing marvelously. So in this pot, I have a kale and 2 arugula plants. Now I noticed just a couple days ago that my arugula, both of them actually, are starting to send up shoots, which means they are bolting and they're gonna try to go to seed and flower. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull these 2 plants up this week and I'm gonna taste them. If they still have good flavor, we're gonna go ahead and eat this arugula in salads this week. If they have changed flavor because they're bolting, then I'll just give it to the chickens. But man, I love arugula. It has a nice spicy flavor to it. And arugula is really, really healthy for you. And I wish I could have eaten more of this before it started bolting. It was bound to happen with the really warm weather we've been having though. I also have 4 cauliflower plants. And these are purple of Sicily cauliflower. None of them are heading yet. I keep looking to see when they're gonna head. This is that big one that almost died of frost damage a while back, a couple weeks ago. And I almost pulled this plant out, giving up on it. I decided to prune off the worst of the frost damage and just see what happens. And he's come back and he is now, again, the biggest cauliflower plant that we have. So that was pretty cool that he bounced back so well. This other one in front's doing really good too. I'm expecting them to start heading up here pretty soon. So that is an update on how the winter garden is doing. This week I do plan on pulling out a few entire heads of the lettuces that we have. I want to catch them before they bolt since we've been having so much warm weather. So this week we're going to be eating a lot of salads. Next on my list of things to do, I need to clean out this greenhouse. For the winter, we've been storing all of our cactus and succulents in this greenhouse. We can still expect to get a frost as late as the end of April, so that's a little concerning. However, I need to start my spring seedlings, so I am going to have to make a call and I'm going to take out all of my cactus from this greenhouse and they are going to have to come out, and we're just going to play survival of the fittest with our cactus. If they survive the rest of the winter, they survive, but I really don't have anywhere safe to put them that I can think of, unless I just like put them all in my laundry room. And I don't know if I want to do that. This is where I plan on starting the majority of my spring seeds this year. I should have rolled this up properly. Here, give me a second. All right, so this is my little miniature greenhouse. And this is where we've been storing all of our cactus and succulents over the winter. Now, before I started trying to garden on this property, we actually were collectors of cactus and succulents, and we love cactus that are native in this area, like ocotillos and different types of prickly pears and all kinds of things. Well, we had over 50 different cactus plants and succulent plants. And once we started trying to garden, I just didn't have the time or the space to take care of all of those cactuses because I wanted to devote more energy into things that would give back to us and feed us. So we actually sold off the majority of our cactus and succulents. And then last year, we didn't protect our cactuses at all over the winter. And so we lost about another quarter of the cactuses that we had left. So all of these cactuses are either our favorites or just the strongest that have survived several years naturally. I did put them in the greenhouse this year because I like them. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen to them. But in general, some cactuses, even though they will sustain frost damage, can survive a winter out here, especially the native ones. Like these ocotillos are natives. So in the Sotol, they grow native out here. So they should be able to survive a couple more frosts if we get them. So these guys are gonna have to come out, unfortunately. A couple you could see still died of the frost even in here. So that's what we're gonna do. So my plan today is I'm gonna take all of the cactus out and figure out where we're gonna put them for now. And I am going to move this greenhouse to the location where my winter garden is now. And I'm gonna have to move my winter garden out into the yard or somewhere else because that is the ideal spot where it gets the most sunlight and it's gonna be the warmest for the remainder of our winter. So I think that'll be a great spot to try to start seedlings. Now I live in zone 8B and I usually start my seedlings around the second week of February. So I'm actually going to start my seedlings next weekend. Today is February 6th. I'm going to start them the 14th. But I want to go ahead and prepare because I know that's going to be a lot of work planning out all of those seeds. So I'm going to try to prepare myself by setting up their location at least. I'm going to try to get some of my seed starting equipment cleaned out and try to recycle as much as I can from last season and just generally set myself up for the best success. These are going to go into filling up my green stalk garden planter, as well as filling up this purple raised garden bed. Whatever soil I have left over, I'm going to use to amend this soil bed right here. Now this is a pretty ambitious feat because it's already pretty late in the afternoon, but I actually have at least this much more soil out in the garage that we bought today that I'm going to have to do maybe tomorrow as well. We have a lot of soil to make. On the bright side, this garden bed is filled up. Right, Evie? This garden bed's filled up. She watched me do that one too. She didn't help me one bit. So I'm going to fill up this one, my green stalk, and then the rest of that soil is going to go in to top off garden beds in the back garden, as well as amend those in-ground beds that I have back there. I have been keeping this bed nice and moist because I do have peas and carrots and radishes in this garden bed, and believe me guys, I have been squatting down next to this bed looking very closely every day to see if any of these have germinated, and it's only been 3 days since I planted them, so I'm really excited for spring. Oh my goodness, Evie, get out of there. Evie, come here. Don't dig in it. Oh my goodness gracious. This is not a game. She says, I saw you dig in it. Evie, that's naughty. Do you know what you did? Oh my goodness. She's crazy. Well, anyway, I'm really excited for these to germinate. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do about that. You can't be doing that once I have plants in there. Look, borzois are so sensitive. You're not even in that much trouble. Oh my goodness gracious. Look, she's all guilty. You guys. Well, I have a lot to do this afternoon, so I'm gonna get to it. I will update you guys once I'm all finished and show you guys what everything looks like. Hey guys, so it is actually about 3 days later after that last shot that you guys just saw. I ended up losing my daylight that night. I got a little bit done, but then I had to call it a night. And over the past couple days, I've been working on it here and there after work. And let me show you how far we got. So right here where we're looking at, this is where my greenhouse used to be, right here covering that gate. I ended up emptying out the greenhouse and moving all of the cactus either inside of our house or inside my sister-in-law's little casita or to a nice sunny spot on a picnic table in the chicken yard. This is that picnic table I was just talking about. I moved the sturdiest, strongest cactus out here because we are still very much in our winter season and we can still expect temperatures that hit freezing and frost. So what I went ahead and done is I moved the strongest ones out here. All of the really fragile plants, the more frost tender succulents, I went ahead and moved inside for their safety. All of these plants in a typical winter should be able to survive the winter. They may sustain some frost damage. Like these were all in our greenhouse all winter, and you can see a couple of them are still really healthy. We do have some areas like this one's shriveled up a little bit, but once the weather warms back up, he should perk up. I know our ocotillos went dormant. They're still alive and they will start leafing out in the spring, and our cholla is still hanging in there as well. So all of these are pretty hardy. I am going to move them in this weekend though, because we have some freaky, really cold temperatures coming our way this weekend. Now I'm heading back into the dog yard so I can show you where I moved my winter garden. This right here is the area where my winter garden was located. I have since moved all of those plants and replaced it with my greenhouse. This is where I plan to start most of my seed sowing and get those started as little seed starts for my spring gardens. My plan initially was to start them this weekend, the 14th and 15th. However, I had to change my plans. I like to start the second week of February. I'm going to push that back at least a week because this week we are having a huge winter storm coming through our area. I still need to clean this area up a little bit, get rid of some of those extra watering pails, that bag of pebbles, some of the older plants that have died, and just kind of clean up this area a little bit. But I did go ahead and move some of my winter garden over into this area. You can see my artichokes and pansies, and then I have all 4 of my cauliflower right here in this spot. I have my carrot and radish bed right here, and they're doing pretty good. Over here, I have moved my pot that has my black king pansies, and look at that. They're flowering. And can you believe it? They're actually really pretty black flowers. I did grow these in the spring of last year, and the flowers were purple. I think that these are a lot healthier, these plants, and they actually are really beautiful black flowers. If you look closely, yes, it is black because it's super dark purple, and you can see some of that purple in there, but they're just so pretty, and I love it. You can see that one's another pretty one. Aren't those just gorgeous? Love my black king pansies. Over here, I also have yellow and purple pansies that are growing. And they're doing pretty good. All right, in this yellow bed, I did go ahead and add the leftover trellis that I have from that cattle panel that I added. I'm gonna try to shade the sun a little bit. From that cattle panel that I added to my back garden. I cut it at 10 feet, so that gave me an extra 6 feet that I could use. And so I put it in here. And this bed, I'm thinking I'm gonna grow tomatoes or some other plant that needs support along the trellis. And then I wanna plant bush beans on either side in the corners, and maybe some nice pollinator in this corner over here. I also filled up this bed, and in this one I used a different brand of manure, and I like it a lot better. It's a lot more broken down than the other brand that I showed y'all in my soil making video. So I'm gonna definitely switch over and start using this brand of manure, because look at that, it blended so well with the peat moss, and it's just really nice and smooth, and a lot less of this mulch is in there compared to this one over here. You see how much heavier and mulchier that is? So I feel like I got a little bit more bang for my buck. These also came in 0.75 cubic feet bags, whereas the manure that I used in this one were in 40-pound bags. So the bags were a little bit bigger and heavier, so there was more manure for the same price. So that was a really good deal. I'm glad I stumbled across that brand. Now we do have a couch right here next to our greenhouse. I am planning on scooting the couch over a few feet, and I'm going to put my green stock garden planter right here for the start of the spring. If it ends up being too sunny, I may move this to the other side of the yard where it will be shaded by that crepe myrtle that's right there. For the weekend, I am going to have to move all of those cactus that are on the back table back into this greenhouse, because we are going to get really, really cold. I also want to give you an update on what I have planted here. I did start some peas, some carrots, and some radishes. Nothing has started to sprout yet, but you can see I have a little pea right there. And I was looking at it today, and it does have a tail starting to come out. So it is starting to slowly sprout, but nothing's popped up yet. So I'm going to cover him back up. I am a little concerned that everything is gonna die this weekend. We are gonna get really cold. So if that happens, and if these don't sprout within the next few weeks, I will just re-sow and move on. Watch out, girls. You guys are underfoot. You watching us? You watching your chickens? She loves her chickens. All right, girls. Coming through. Look at that. They always try to cut me off. You gotta watch your step with these girls. Right here in this pot, I have planted poppies. I made a video talking about these a few weeks ago before they sprouted. I think it was the day that I planted them. And now you can see I have a lot of little poppies starting to sprout up. I also broadcasted a little sprinkle of bachelor buttons in here. And the bachelor buttons are those big ones. There's like 3, I think, that I see of the bachelor buttons, and then the rest of these are poppies. I have 3 varieties of poppies that I have sewn in here. I think it was like Sissinghurst White, there was like a Scarlet Peony, and then a Tangerine Gem, if I believe. Those are the 3 that I have planted in here. I have a few more varieties of poppies I'm going to try broadcasting around the rest of the yard, especially if these die this weekend. I'm going to try to cover them up the best I can and keep that chill off of them, but we are going to get really cold this weekend. So this coming weekend, we are expecting extremely cold temperatures. So for about the past 3 weeks or so now, we have been having nighttime temperatures in around the 40 to 50 degree range and daytime temperatures in the upper 60s, 70s, and even touching 79, 80 degrees on a few days. So it's been really mild and nice and warm, and it's been almost feeling like spring. This has been really hard for me because it's been getting me in the mood to grow seeds, to start my seeds. I've been thinking about starting already, even though I know that that's really dangerous because we're bound to get more frosts. But it's really tempting, and it makes it hard to wait when you have such beautiful days. Like even today, I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt today. It's probably in the mid 60s right now. Now, it has been unseasonably warm, yet we are about to go into the coldest weather that we have seen this winter yet, even though it had been a really cold winter back in December. My weather updates are even hinting that we may be breaking records this weekend with how cold it's gonna get. In our area, we typically stay in the teens at our coldest in the winter. We do get below freezing during the night times. I mean, it is a desert, so with low humidity, we typically get very hot in the day and very cold at night. The temperature fluctuates a lot, which means that we can get some really cool nighttime temperatures. This weekend, however, a little bit of plastic covering and a bed sheet isn't going to do it for my winter plants, which is what I typically do. My typical evening routine is I take my chickens, my hens, and I tuck them in, where I put them into the chicken run, close them up for the night, and then I will go behind them and lock the coop to keep predators out, to keep the girls safe. Once I close the girls up for the night, I will then go and cover up my plants to keep them from freezing overnight. Now, I am only growing plants that can handle frosts, which means that they're generally going to be a little bit hardier during the winter than frost tender plants. Even so, they do need a little bit of protection, and you can keep your plants alive longer and keep them healthier if you do keep frosts off of them and help keep them a little bit protected from the wind overnights. So I take a clear plastic and I cover my plants, and then I also generally go back and hold that plastic on there by covering it with a bed sheet, which adds an extra layer of protection. That only is going to keep the plants just a little bit safer. If you get really cold, you're still going to need to protect them even further. This weekend, I think the low that we're expecting to hit is 7 degrees, and I was sent a weather advisory on my phone that was telling us to get prepared for this weekend, that the forecast is only an estimate and we could very well get into the negatives this weekend if we don't hit 0. Now, that frost covering that I put on my plants is really only meant to keep those plants safe down to about 22 degrees. That's really what I'm shooting for with keeping my plants safe. If we're gonna go down to 7 degrees, even if I do the best I can with covering them, they're gonna die outside. All of my broccoli, all of my cauliflower, my carrots, pretty much everything. If we go down to 7 degrees or down below 0, they're probably not gonna make it. At least that's my thought. So this might sound crazy, but this weekend on, I guess it's gonna be Saturday night, because we're getting the cold weather on Sunday, I'm gonna go ahead and, instead of covering my plants for the night, I am going to move them inside the house. So I have a guest bedroom that's not in use right now, and I'm planning on throwing a tarp down and bringing all of those plants inside and letting them hang out for about the day or so inside the house. Which might sound crazy, but I haven't been raising cauliflower and broccoli and all of these vegetables and lettuces since late October, just to have them die in this freeze before I even get my first head of broccoli and cauliflower. So that's definitely what I'm doing this weekend. With that cool weather coming, I am gonna move all of these into my greenhouse just to kind of keep the frost off of them and hopefully they will survive. The strong will survive. Now these plants aren't providing our family with food, and all of these plants are really replaceable, so I'm not going to do too much for them. I am going to put them into the greenhouse and hope for the best. Now my seed packets are saying about 2 months for them to start heading. These are my cauliflower, and about 2 months for my broccoli to start heading. These plants are between 2.5 and 3 months old now at this point. October, let's see, November, December, January, February. So we're looking at 3.5 months old. So I'm expecting these to start heading up really soon. And I'm not seeing any sign of heading yet. So I want them to survive. I haven't been raising these for 3.5 months for them to freeze to death this weekend. So these are all going to be coming inside the house this weekend, especially my Black King pansies. Look at how pretty those flowers are. These are some pretty flowers. These are really healthy too. I will definitely be keeping you guys updated as far as this weekend and the weather goes. We are looking at a 60% chance of having even more snow this weekend. As ready as I am for spring, I'm just gonna have to wait at least another week, maybe even a couple more weeks to start my spring seedlings. Out here in Western Texas, last year, my growing season for the spring and summer was 6 months. That's how long I had my tomato plants for, as well as some of those other garden plants. So I do have plenty of time. I can put it off a couple weeks. I'm a little concerned because I know that us having a super cold winter this year probably means we're gonna have an even hotter summer this year. And last year was the hottest summer in a decade. This winter has been the snowiest winter in 25 years here in Western Texas. So I can only imagine what's in store for us this coming growing season. But waiting a couple weeks to start my seedlings may be the best option for me this time. Once I have all of my seeds started and put into the greenhouse to start out their little lives, growing in their little solo cups, I am gonna have heat mats. I am gonna have a heater that is automatically turns off when it hits a certain temperature, and it will automatically turn off if it gets knocked over. I'm gonna have a little heater in here, and that should be hopefully good enough to start my seeds in starting next weekend, as long as we stay pretty warm. Now, ideally, I would be starting my seeds inside the house under a grow light, but I just don't have those resources or the space right now where we currently live. So in the little greenhouse it is, and we are going to try our luck and take our chances with this approach. Well, that's all I've got for you guys tonight. I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm and toasty wherever you are, and just wait a little longer. It's almost spring. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel to see more videos just like this. Hey girls, hi. Hi girls. All right, I have to go tuck these girls in. Look at that sunset. It is approaching, which means it's almost time for the owls to come out. Come on girls, let's go. Let's go girls. Get this thing. Get off. Okay, come on, let's go. Get in. Girls, get in. Get in. Come on, we got 2 left. Get in. Good girls. Good girls. Give them one more. Good girls. All right, we'll be back in a minute. And people say chickens are dumb. Did you see that? They just put themselves to bed. Watch, give it just a few minutes and the owls will start hooting in that tree. And then another 15 minutes or so, and they will be on this telephone pole right there. And then another 10 minutes after that, they fly right through the yard and land on those trees in the neighbor's yard. Right over there. That's our owl's daily routine. So we always make sure to have our girls locked up before dark. Just a friendly reminder, it's always a great idea to put your chickens in a closed, secure coop and lock them up every single night, because predators are always going after chickens no matter where you live. I live in the middle of town. 1 block behind us is Main Street, and right next door, right where that tree is where I showed you where the owls are gonna land in a few minutes, I have a neighbor who has a horse, he's got a pig, and he's got a bunch of chickens. And he actually reached out to me a few days ago and told me that he lost a handful of chickens over the past couple weeks to raccoons in the middle of town. So I'm always sure to make sure that the coop is securely closed, fastened, put locks on there, put clips on there, because raccoons are smart and they are hungry and they're gonna get your chickens. So the best way to keep them safe is to keep them locked up for the night. I did want to address this because I've had a couple questions on this. Why am I using tomato cages with plants that do not need support? Just to be clear, these tomato cages are not used to support my plants. That's actually to help hold that frost covering up above and off of the plants. You don't want there to be contact with the plastic or the bed sheet with the plants because it'll damage the plant where that contact is. So I set that frost covering and the bed sheet on these tomato rings, and it kind of creates like a pocket of air that acts as an insulator for these plants in really cold weather. So that's what these tomato cages are used for. They're not meant to support the cauliflowers or the artichokes. In fact, on some of these, I actually cut off the bottom ring to give those plants a little bit more room to stretch out as well. There she goes. Last chicken went to bed. So then I come in here and I get my flashlight out and I count chickens. Make sure we have all 9. Got eggs to get. All right, we have 9 chickens. So good night, girls. Close this, and all of our doors have double locks. Down to 39. And then I need to collect eggies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.